And we welcome you into the Hannycast for Tuesday, June the 17th. I'm Charles Hanagriff along with former Tiger coach Dan Canevari. We are brought to you by Marucci. From a backyard shed to the top of the game, Marucci, more than just a baseball bat company, a legacy built on passion and precision. 2 decades of crafting the finest wood, metal, and leather in the sport. Here to help you run the game. Visit MarucciSports.com to gear up with the best. And by folks over at Bayou Apparel. If you're looking for anything LSU, go to everythinglsu.com. Made by locals, shipping from Baton Rouge, eye-catching designs to put out your company's message, logos, event t-shirts, and promotional items for your business. Again, go to everythinglsu.com. Dan, it was as we record this, and listen, the schedule changes in Omaha, so we
Tell me
are
about it. Yeah.
we're recording this about an hour and a half post LSU UCLA, the win today by the Tigers. Um, LSU found themselves in a 3-0 hole to open this game, 3 runs in the top of the first inning for UCLA, but LSU answered that with 4 runs in the bottom of the first inning. They got through 3 innings with a 5-3 lead, and then the rains came and forced to move to this morning. So let's start from the beginning and how this thing started to play out for LSU. Anthony Ianson, a couple of balls that didn't leave the infield ended up hurting him a little bit, and UCLA got on the board early before Ianson was able to get out of the first.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that shows, the faith that Jay and Nate Yeski have in Ianson and the fact that he's such a good competitor. A few infield singles, 2 balls don't get out of the infield, and he just keeps competing, gives up some runs, but then settles down and gets things back under control. That's the mark of a true champion and a true veteran, of the postseason.
All right, so you get to the bottom of the first inning, and LSU's down 3 runs, and Jared Jones comes to the plate with 2 out, with 2 on, and he's got an 0 for 5 on Saturday. Got to be in his head somewhere. 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts. He worked on it on the off day, but you're coming to the plate. It's really, really important. Jay talked about in the post game how important it is to answer those 3 runs with something. And Jones comes up the 0 for 5 right there in the rearview mirror, and LSU needs him in the worst way here. And Dan, to hit the ball out of that park, I think we only had 4 home runs in the whole first 4 days of the series, but the air's heavy. Ball doesn't travel well, and he pushed that thing out to right center where there's just not a ton of balls get hit. Unbelievable strength, but I thought also really strong focus, really good mental approach for Jared Jones to push that thing the other way and get it out of the park and give LSU the lead.
Well, if you looked on the television broadcast, they showed it. It was like 110 off the bat,
Yeah.
and the right launch angle, and it barely cleared the fence. So that tells you a lot about how the ball carries in Omaha. Maybe one day they'll figure out that the field needs to be turned the correct way so the ball can carry out instead of always blowing in. But as far as Jared Jones goes, that shows you one, the mental toughness of Jared Jones and the coaching ability of the chief and Jay Johnson, meaning they stuck with the guy. He's our guy. We got to get through it. And baseball is a game of mental toughness. I teach young kids, and the hardest thing to get them to understand is it's not always going to work the way you want it to work. And there's ups and downs, and you have to just put everything in the rearview mirror. You always use that statement. The windshield's a lot bigger than the rearview mirror, and they do that for a reason. Keep looking forward. And that's what you have to teach, especially at the plate. But after taking the platinum sombrero and then coming up in a situation where they really needed him, I think that's just a testament to the staff and to Jared. And that ignited the team. So I think one of the things that was stated in the post-game conference on television when they talked to Case and Evans, like he said, when Jared hits, everybody hits. And I think that's a key for LSU.
They got a 2-out RBI single by Luis Hernandez, who is continuing the terrific postseason in the bottom of the third. They chased the UCLA starter, who has Landon Stump, in favor of Chris Grothris. And UCLA would end up using 8 pitchers in this game. We'll get to today's action a little bit. But walk me through what happens, because I know you guys were in Omaha during rain delays before, and this is tough, Dan. You got the lead, you got the momentum. You know, if this is more than an hour tops, that you're not going to be able to bring back Anthony Ianson, but you don't know if you're going to have to come back tomorrow. So I thought it was a bad break for LSU, because I thought the momentum was in the Tiger dugout. And I thought that Ianson was settling in after a rocky first. Well, they didn't hit the ball real hard, but they got 3 runs. And I thought he was settling in, and I thought he would have got them into the 5th, 6th, maybe even the 7th. But all of that came to a halt without LSU knowing for another 2+ hours whether they were going to play last night or today.
Well, the one thing is about Louisiana is we know all about rain delays. You know, you
Yeah.
played baseball here long enough. It rains so much, and especially this time of year. So that's nothing new. And of course, this year has been a lot of rain. And so I think the team's very used to that. I think the key in a rain delay is you just relax and know that you can't do anything about it. There's no sense in getting nervous. I think Jay and his staff handle it well. You know, they're just relax. Just, you know, it is part of baseball once you know it's part of it. I'm going to say an advantage LSU in a rain delay because it doesn't rain in California. These guys aren't used to that. So we'll take every advantage you can in the postseason. But I do want to say that I think they handled it real well. And then, of course, to go to bed, get up the next day with a 2-run lead. I think that's a pretty good deal to come to the park, knowing you got Case and Evans on the mound. And then Ianson got out with about 40-plus pitches. And so he's got the ability, even tomorrow, if they end up playing tomorrow, to come in and close. So it didn't really wreck their pitching the way it worked, so it worked out to their advantage. And kudos to LSU for handling it so well.
So I've got a few things here. First of all, Daniel Dickinson made a good point after the game. He said, we got here at 8 o'clock this morning. For UCLA, that's 6 o'clock their time. So that's another part of the California thing. The second thing I want to say is that if this game would have been played in Baton Rouge, they would have never started it. And look, I've been frustrated at times, waiting around through hours of sunshine for a game to start. But I always understood what Jay was trying to do. We don't want to start a game that we're only going to be able to play an hour. Well, in Omaha, that's different, and they did. This is exactly, if you were frustrated sitting through in 23 8 hours of sunshine, okay, or in any of the postseason this year, this is what Johnson's trying to avoid. Bringing a starting pitcher of Ianson's ability out there and losing him after 44 pitches. So I understood all of those things. But before we move into this today's portion of the game, I got to ask you if you remember a story about this was a rain delay in Omaha that Skip talks about. I think playing Oklahoma State, and there was a kid named Bean Blossom that was coming up, and the rain started when Bean Blossom came to the plate, and Skip describes Bean Blossom as about the size of a good Kentucky Derby jockey. He said, and then the rains came. He said, we had a whole day to think about what to throw Bean Blossom. And he says, we finally came up, we'll throw him a fastball. And Bean Blossom hit about a 19 hopper through the right side. So a lot of time to think about it between last night and night for Jay Johnson, who he wanted to bring back, how he wanted to pitch it. And I don't know if you remember the story about Bean Blossom. That may have been when you were still at Miami, but Skip tells it better than I do, obviously.
Of course. But yeah, that's the way it works. But I tell you what, and again, watching the television broadcast, the guys made a great point. Jay is kind of like Nick Saban. If you give him a lot of time to prepare, there's nobody going to prepare better than Jay Johnson. As they use the term on TV, maniacal. Okay. And his staff, maniacal. So that opportunity to really take a look at, okay, the game has changed. We're up by 2 runs. They've got a plan they're behind. They've got a plan on losing more than winning. They got to figure out their pitching. Let's take a look at every guy that could come in, how they're going to do and how we can match up. And Jay took it out to the nth degree. And I think that his preparation and the staff's preparation gives the team a bunch of confidence knowing that their coach has a better plan than anybody else that we ever face. And that was the same feeling we got with Skip Bertman. As long as we had Skip Bertman in the dugout, we were up 2 runs every time we walked into the park. And I think this team has that same feeling about Jay.
We're brought to you by Dependable Storage, 8 locations across Louisiana, 1 in Mississippi and Gulfport. Check out the facilities where they'll match any competitor's pricing, offer convenient online rentals and payments, and offer free use of the moving truck for new rental move-ins. Clean, secure, and conveniently located facilities. Check out the website at dependablestorage.com for locations, pricing, and rentals. Like Skip Burtman says, at Dependable Storage, we want your stuff. Jay Johnson had a decision to make when they came back today about who would pitch to open this game, Dan. I thought that there was a chance that it might be Cooper Williams because UCLA's first 3 batters due up today were left-handed, and because 6 out of the 9 in the lineup overall for UCLA were left-handed. But he went with what has been his best arm available, which was Kason Evans, and that proved to be the right decision. Although later in the game, when Evans went out and there were 4 consecutive lefties due up for UCLA, he went to Cooper Williams. Williams struggled a little bit, couple of walks, but he did get 1 out, and then Chase Shores was able to finish it up. So talk about what Jay was looking at there. You could go lefty, try to get out to the good start, or you could go to Evans, and Evans came out and was very good from the beginning.
If I'm going to lose a 2-run lead in Omaha, I'm going to have the best guy on the mound that I know, and that's Kason Evans, based on what he's done. Cooper Williams, as we've said all year in this show, he's coming along, but he's not at the caliber of Kason Evans. Plus, again, watching the broadcast, and JB, the maniacal preparation guy that he is, given enough time, if you look at the splits, left-handed hitters are hitting less than 200 against Kason Evans. So
Yeah.
the lefty-righty thing really doesn't come into play, especially when you know that Cooper Williams is relatively new for these kind of pressure situations. He's come on. He's done a good job. Now, when Jay took Kason Evans out, I was watching that inning, and Kason Evans wasn't as sharp as he was earlier. You could tell that it was getting to the time, and they had the lefties coming up. So I felt pretty confident that Jay was going to try to get to those lefties. And now it's time to bring in Cooper Williams, because at this point in time, Cooper Williams versus those lefties is a better option than Kason Evans at that moment in time. So I thought Jay played it perfectly. And, of course, everybody after the fact can make a judgment on whether it was a good move or not move. But when you're in the fact, he had more information. He made the right moves. He went with his gut. He went with his intelligence. And I think Jay did a masterful job of playing it correctly. And then when he brought in Chase Shores, I thought he did it exactly the right time.
Yeah, he's sitting in the winner's bracket, so he's had a terrific feel for this club. Can you describe what it's like for Cooper Williams to get out there? Because I think he's going to have to pitch again in this series somewhere. To get out there, first time in Omaha on that mound in front of, okay, it wasn't a huge crowd today because of the early start, but it's still the College World Series and the winner's bracket on the line. To get acclimated, to be ready the next time he's called upon.
Well, I think if you're going to put a freshman that you're trying to make, as the term we've used here all the time, going to graduate on the Omaha stage, not better a time to do it than when the stands are half full. You've got 8-3 lead. You got Chase Shores and you've got Zach Cowan behind you, and you got three lefties coming up. Let's go get those 3 lefties, get your feet wet, because Charlie, 100% right, especially on Wednesday. He's going to be a factor in this World Series before it's all over. They're going to need him to get lefties out, so you might as well let him get his feet wet with some room, and that proved to be the right formula. Again, kudos to Jay. I think down the line, at the end of this thing, that move is going to pay off, because I think Cooper Williams now is comfortable with Omaha.
Can I tell my Hunter Gomez story right now?
All right, give it to Hunter Gomez.
Okay. 25 years ago, College World Series Game 1, LSU versus Texas. Brian Talent against Bo Hale. And the LSU bats got to Bo Hale pretty good. And you get to the 7th inning, and Talent's at the end of his day. And LSU's got a 7-run lead. Hunter Gomez had been the second pitcher all year, been the number 2 guy. And here comes Gomez out of the bullpen with a 7-run lead in Game 1. And Dan, I got to be honest with you, I thought you guys were nuts. I'm like, what are you doing? This guy's got to pitch on Monday against Mark Pryor. And I asked Skip about it after the game, and he said wanted to get him used to the mound. And I said, yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, but that means he can't pitch against Mark Pryor. And well, Ben Saxon pitched against Mark Pryor, and LSU won that game. And here comes Hunter Gomez 3 days later to face Florida State and wins a 2-1 game, I think it was.
Yes.
So, the master knows what he's doing, but boy, sure looks strange at the time. But that's what I thought about. Get the guy out there, when there's not a ton of pressure for his first time in Omaha.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way to do it. And yeah, you've got to. People don't understand. When you watch it on TV, you watch it from the stands. It looks easy to go out there. Oh, come on, the guy's got to pitch well, like it's like you throw it in your backyard. Remember, I tell people this all the time in my teams that I coach here in Covington, these youth league teams. Studies have shown in adults, the biggest fear for adults is public speaking. Well, when you get out in front of 26, 27,000, that's about as public speaking as you can, standing on a rubber on national TV, playing the best teams in the nation with everything on the line. That's about as fearful as it gets. So there's nothing normal about that situation. So again, you have to get people out there. They have to be battle tested. You can try to prepare them, but to get them out there and get their feet wet. So I think, again, great move by Jay. And you're talking about Hunter Gomez. The other thing with Gomez is because of the way he threw, he wasn't a hard thrower. He threw a lot of breaking balls, and it was a short stint at that point in time against Texas. He was able to come back because for him, that was like a bullpen. So to get him in a live bullpen in Omaha on the mound was a great move by Skip and very calculated.
Well, flag number 5 is up flying because of that. By the way, you said public speaking is the most feared thing. You know what's second?
What?
Death. That that means that if you're at a funeral, most people would, by statistically, they'd rather be in the coffin than giving a eulogy.
Right.
That's
Well, I agree with that one. I agree with that one.
for us public speaking guys. Not that I want to die, but the public speaking was never a problem for me. I'm scared of everything else, but public speaking has never been a problem for me. With 25 years of experience, Lake Urgent Care is dedicated to providing quality care close to home, treating minor illnesses and injuries for ages 3 months and up at 17 convenient locations in Baton Rouge, Hammond, Livingston, and Ascension parishes, plus occupational therapy, health and weight loss solutions, a seamless extension of Our Lady of the Lake. You can go to the My Chart patient portal. Urgent care centers are open 7 days a week. Walk in, check in online, or schedule a virtual care visit at lakeurgentcare.com. Before we move on to what's next, let's talk about the offense because this was a real strong effort throughout the lineup. 8 players in the starting lineup had hits. 5 drove in runs, 5 scored runs. And look, man, there were 2 out hits all over the place. All 5 runs that were scored in the resumption of the game were scored with 2 outs. They hit with runners in scoring position and 12 hits. So this wasn't a situation like a couple of the other games where they got a lot of free passes and, hit batters and stuff like that, where that piled up the base runners and they got the key hit. They got a lot of hits today, Dan, the last 2 days.
Yeah, and I tell you what, you talk about the pitching staff at UCLA, not what John Savage is used to with guys, that he's had on the mound like Trevor Bauer, guys like that.
Garrett Cole, yeah.
Yeah. These guys that they're pitching are college pitchers. They're 90, 92 miles an hour with breaking balls, and they rely on defense, and they're going to pitch to contact a little more than other people. And Jay Johnson's team on offense did a great job with 2 strikes, not swinging at pitches that pitchers wanted to swing at, moving the ball with 2 strikes, putting it in play, fighting in the at-bats. And, so I think it was a pretty good feel for everything. And really a great offensive approach, by Jay Johnson on that. And if you look at LSU, there were only 7 strikeouts, which is a low for LSU in this ballgame. So I think they really did a good job with 2 strikes.
Yeah, they did. And UCLA is not a big strikeout team. It's kind of a bizarre stat in a regional that the 2 guys that started the first 2 games did not have a strikeout, either one of them. So it's not a big strikeout team, but you still got to get up there and you got to make the plays. And, I like Ethan Fry today. He only had one hit, but he walked 3 times and he scored 4 runs. And Ethan Fry's a big guy. He's got a power bat there. I thought it showed good patience by him. Loving what we're seeing out of Steven Milam. Loving what we're seeing out of Luis Hernandez. Jake Brown had
Jake
3
Brand had
hits.
a great day today. Great
Yeah,
day.
I mean, he came in and even against the left-hander, but uh, he has been a guy who's been up and down in the lineup, in and out, and so he showed up today. So I had a really strong, I thought, overall offensive effort by LSU.
Well, and
Okay,
the other thing, Charlie, I want to add to that is that
yeah,
Jay said all year. Remember, Jay's really good. He's got a team that's prepared to win at that ballpark, meaning there's a lot of different ways. So there's not a homer, although we got one from Jared Jones. So we can bunt like Dickinson can lay down a bunt. We play solid defense. The ball stays in the park. We got guys that can put it in play. We fight and get hits. We can, and today he moved the runner to avoid a double play, meaning he's doing things.
yeah,
His California background, the West Coast baseball, California baseball, there's some of it in the LSU offense. So he can basically win in any park and win in any kind of game. And of course, when you have pitching and defense, that makes everything work a lot better in offense because there's less pressure on them to score big every time. So kudos to him. But again, kudos to the Goon Squad. Jake
yeah.
Brown, Josh Pearson, John Pearson, those guys coming off the bench. Tanner Reeves. These guys have stayed ready, and they always give quality at bats when they come in. Jake Brown hadn't started in a while. Next thing you know, he's in the lineup, and he gives you some RBIs today.
Johnson didn't just start a runner; he started Jared Jones. I mean, it doesn't occur to everybody to start Jared Jones, although Jones runs really well for as big as he is. But he started Jones to stay out of the double play, and
Right.
sure enough, there's a ball right to the shortstop. I mean, it's a tailor-made double play if he didn't start the runner. So
Got
you're
him a run.
yeah,
Got him
you're
a run.
exactly.
Kept it out from going on the board. People don't realize, starting a runner to avoid the double play. You're not stealing. You're just trying to get the guy moving, and you knew the guy at the plate would probably hit the ball. And the
Yeah,
guy at the plate at that time was Luis Hernandez.
you
And
said
that's a double play waiting to happen if he hits a
it,
ground ball.
it is. He started the runner, stayed out of the double play. You brought something up here just a second ago before we get into what's next about preparing a team to win in this park. Now, for SEC teams, with the possible exceptions of Texas and Oklahoma, who have just joined the league, they're all pitchers' parks. I mean, they are all. I say they're all hitters' parks.
I was going to say, what
They're
kind of
I'm sorry,
pitching you talk about there, Charlie? Because
they're
they're all
all
bandboxes
they're
with not a
all
lot of
hitters.
foul territory.
Yes, they're all hitters' parks. The ball travels well. No foul territory, especially at Alex Box Stadium. There's hardly any foul territory.
Tennessee.
And yeah,
Tennessee's got none.
and Georgia, they give up there's 6 home runs a game. Oklahoma and Texas may be a little bit pitchers' parks, but the rest of them are hitters' parks. And then you get to this place in Omaha. Now, back when it was Rosenblatt, Rosenblatt was mostly a hitter's park as long as the wind was blowing out, which most of the time it was. This is a pitcher's park in every sense of the word. So you got to kind of change a little bit about what you're doing. You flail away with a bunch of balls to the warning track, and you're going to find yourself home in a hurry. So you got to manufacture some runs at times. After a year's worth of, you better play for some 3-run homers in the Southeastern Conference.
You have to. It's like in football. Everybody, of course, knows football here in the South. It's like a team that got to the playoffs passing the ball, running a fast-paced offense, and now you go play in New England and there's snow on the ground, and now
Yeah.
you got to grind it out. And so to be prepared to win like that is a big deal. And again, Jay thinks of everything. Jay coaches everything. He's nonstop, and I don't think people here really understand how much credit he deserves.
We're brought to you by the law offices of O.C. Brown Dana and his team of attorneys. For over 30 years have certainly been serving the area, and we've trusted him for a ton of our things over the years. If you've been in an accident, if you have other legal needs, that first consultation is always free. So the law offices of O.C. Brown should be your first and only call. Your law firm for a lifetime. Call them 343-1111 on the web at ocbrown, OSSIEBrown.com. Okay, Kenna, we're going to have to speculate a little bit because right now we don't know who LSU will play next. We're a few hours away from the scheduled start of Arkansas and UCLA. Arkansas is bringing back Zach Root, who didn't get out of the second inning against
Yeah,
LSU, and
good move
UCLA.
by good move by Van Horn to pull him when he did. He didn't have his stuff, aka Doug Thompson against Alabama
Yeah,
back in '97. You know,
UCLA, all of the relievers that they used today were lightly used. Nobody threw more than 32 pitches. 4 of the 6 that came in today threw 18 or less. So they can bring all those guys back. It ends up being like a day-night double header. So they've got enough pitching left. We'll see who comes out of that. They got to beat LSU twice. So let's take the opponent out of the equation for a minute. You've got Zach Cowan, who started a game in the postseason for you. You've got Jaden Newt, who started a game in the SEC tournament. You've got Anthony Ianson, who threw 44 pitches on Monday. This game is on Wednesday. We have to take into account the weather's kind of sketchy up there right now. This game could end up being played on Thursday. We don't know. You definitely got another game to play with. What do you think Jay is? You got everybody on Wednesday that you want except for Kate Anderson and Kason Evans. Everybody else could throw. Shores only threw, I think, 11 pitches today. So, what do you think Jay's thinking in regards to his pitching? He's got a game to play with, although rather
you
just
don't have a
want to
game
get.
to play with. No, don't think like that, Charlie. That's a media guy. I'm thinking like a coach. There is no
Okay,
game to
well
play with.
that's why I got you here. Okay, go. What do you think Jay's thinking in regards to the next game?
Okay, I'm thinking number one. The old spawn insane and pray for rain. Um, if they get an extra day, advantage LSU. If this thing gets pushed back a little bit, I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think Arkansas is just going to win the game because they have more talent. They're going to hit the ball, and they got Zach Root, who's on a revenge mission today. If they
Yeah.
end up playing that game, for LSU, it's a flip. It's a coin flip between Zach Cowan and Newt. Um, that's something Jay's going to look at all the numbers and grind on it. One thing we know about Jay, you're not going to know until about 20 minutes before the game starts who's pitching. Is that correct?
Yeah, whenever they usually make him turn in a lineup a little bit before that, but not a lot.
Not a
Yeah,
lot. And
probably
so
about an hour, maybe a little over an hour. You're gonna know. My vote is for Zach Cowan.
that's my
If
vote too.
for no other reason than um, he's got the most experience of the guys I've got available to me as a starting pitcher, not this year at LSU, but in the previous years. The second thing is, I think that in this park, um, Dan, he doesn't have to worry about giving up a homer. Now, if he does, he does, but go ahead and throw the changeup in there. If they hit it, they hit it. But you got a lot of defense behind you in this park. And, whereas in those SEC parks, you got to worry about the ball ending up in the bleachers. Man, they got to poke it to get it out of here. So I would go with Cowan. And, you got Newt, I think will pitch. You could bring Cooper Williams back. You got Maverick Rizzi was down there throwing today. I think Shores threw 11 pitches today. I think you could bring him back to close again, especially if this game is Thursday. And I would try, although I don't know if it's possible, I would try not to use Anthony Ianson if I didn't have to.
Right.
But
I think
you got to get to the finals. But I would try real hard not to use him so I could have my pitching set up for the championship series.
you're spot on. Ianson's there, and depending on the situation, meaning if you're ahead by a couple of runs and you need somebody to close, you've used your other people, you bring him in to close and get it over with. Okay. If you're in a tight ball game, you got to hold him back because he might have to pitch the next game. They're going to beat you twice. So I'm with you on that, Charlie. It would be nice not to have to use him. I like Zach Cowan for the reasons you stated. I really like that. The fact that it's a big ballpark, he can leave a change up and it's a fly ball the warning track. Now, one thing to keep track of, and I've been in Omaha at the old park in '98 where we were going to win the whole thing. We won the first 2 games, hit the ball out. Ball was normal Omaha. It rained, and all of a sudden the wind blew in, and we were out there. We were back home in a day or two. It was so fast. Maybe after this rain goes through, the wind shifts.
Well,
And if that happens, then that affects what you're doing with your starting pitcher as well.
yeah, it does. So we'll see. I think Dave Van Horn caught a couple of breaks yesterday. Number one, his starting pitcher went out there and gave him the performance of 10 people's lifetimes.
Oh,
Gage
unbelievable.
Wood with a no hitter in Omaha with the season on the line and 19 strikeouts and no walks. Are you kidding me? I mean, go ahead and put that one in the
Complete
Hall of
game.
Fame. Yeah, a
Complete
complete
game
game,
when you
no
go
hit.
through the losers bracket is huge. He didn't have to use anybody. Didn't even have anybody play catch. He didn't have a decision because when you're throwing a no hitter, you can't take him out of the game.
Put that box score in the Hall of Fame
That was Billy
right now.
Chappell.
Yeah. And then the other thing was you got the winner of this game a little bit more, excuse me, the two teams coming out of this game a little bit more compromised. I think Ianson would have gotten deeper for LSU last night. Maybe UCLA wouldn't have had to use 8 pitchers. Maybe they could have got by with 5 if the game would have continued last night. So Van Horn caught a little bit of good fortune yesterday with the weather, and then he caught his pitcher had to do the day of a lifetime. But now they got to win to get through. And the difference is you got to win 3 games, and LSU's only got to win 1 to get to the championship series. So
I'm going to go with this too, Charlie. I'm going to say this to the people, and this goes with my mentor, Skip Bertman, who's a big law of average guy. Okay. Arkansas is dangerous because Dave Van Horn's been out there 10 times with Arkansas. He lost on a foul ball pop-up. Should have won the national championship. The law of average is in his favor. Good things may come his way, and so we got to be careful. If I'm an LSU fan, not because they're Arkansas, they're in the SEC, I'd root for UCLA in this one.
That's a no-brainer for sure. I'll be rooting for UCLA. Our schedule is a little bit fluid here. Watch your notifications. We'll try to get one in where it's got a little shelf life to it in advance of the championship series. If this thing runs into Friday, we may just have to do it on the fly. So. Not going to give you a schedule right now, not knowing what the teams and the weather are going to do. I can tell you that LSU only needs one more win to make it to the finals of the College World Series. So enjoy, Tiger fans. This one has been fun so far. Hopefully it will continue. For Dan Canevari, I'm Charles Hanagriff. This has been the Hannycast.